Hello, Klaus here, and welcome back to yet another video here at the channel. In today's video, we're having a look at how to do stop motion, not using, a fancy cinema camera, because of course you could do that, but using a very simple app, and it's actually an app developed by a Danish company, Filmmaker app, and it's a super simple app you can use for your smartphone or your Android device or your iPad or whatever. And I'm going to show you how it works. And by the way, it's not a sponsored video or anything like that. I just fancy the app. And actually I'll show you how it works and then how to get your stop motion into DaVinci Resolve and how to actually improve it and make it better, and also give you the ability to do more like sound design and stuff like that. So that's what this video is going to be all about. So let's jump out in the studio and start shooting with the iPhone, which sounds very strange coming from a guy using a cinema camera. Well, anyway, let's get out shooting in the studio. Okay, so here we are in the studio and I have my iPhone and the app is super simple. All you need to do is to go in and start a new movie, and then you're going to get this pop-up screen where you're going to select your aspect ratio. I usually use 16:9, but you can use whatever, and it is super simple forward. There is not a lot of options in this app, which is a good and a bad thing, but we'll just go in here and I'm going to push this photo icon here, and I'm in the app, and now I can just take a picture. One thing to keep in mind is that we are going to have the onion skin or ghosting, and you can toggle that on and off in the app, which is kind of cool. And then you can take a picture and you can move around, and then you can see the last frame you had, and that is super helpful when you're doing your animation. One thing also to keep in mind is that you can click in here, and here you're going to put in your frames per second. If you want to have a super smooth animation, you're going to bump it all the way up to 12, and that is going to make you make more frames per second, which is kind of cool. And of course you could then bump it down to 6 if you don't want to do as many frames per second. So for this particular animation, we are going to animate a car, which is just a toy car. And we're also going to use these as trees, and I'm just going to take them and put them into a sponge so they are pretty easy to move frame by frame. And that's all we're going to do for this animation. So I'm going to show you a trick. If you do not have a big space and a big set to build, like you see right here, I only have this apple box and the trees, and I don't have a lot of space, and I want to create this illusion that the car is driving. And the trees are passing by, and there's two different ways of doing that. Of course, the first one would be just to put the car in the middle of our scene here, and then simply just moving the trees around from both the background and the foreground. And that's going to make the illusion. However, when we have a look at the footage, one thing is missing, and that is that the wheels aren't turning. So I'm going to show you an alternative way of doing that effect. We are only going to animate the background, and the car will be standing still. And afterwards we're going to take a piece of paper, blue screen, and we are simply just going to make an animation of trees moving past. And then we're going to use the chroma key here inside of DaVinci Resolve, and we're just going to take out that, and we're going to stitch the two things together. But I'll show you that in 1 sec.
A few seconds later.
Okay, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and here we have the stop motion clip we want to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to push Alt and drag to do a duplication of the footage. Just for tutorial purposes, I want to right click on my clip and change the clip color to orange. And then I'll just jump right into the color page. In the color page, I'm going to select the one with the orange dot here in the corner, and I'll simply just go in and I'm just going to apply a window. And I'm just going to use the circle, and in the circle, in the softness, I'm just going to bump that all the way down to 0 for now. And then I'm going to use the middle mouse wheel to zoom in, and then I can quickly move my circle so it's smaller. And the important thing is to cover up the chrome aspect of the wheel, because that's all we are going to use. So we're just going to make that fit on top of that, something like that, and then we could go in and into the soften and just soften it just a little bit, something like that. And then we are just going to right click over here in the empty space, and I'm going to add an alpha out, and I'm going to connect the alpha out to the blue dot right here, and then I'll just go back to the editing page. In the editing page, I'm just going to select the bottom clip and push D. So now you can see that's all I actually have. That is this empty wheel here, and all I'm going to do is to select the clip. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click right here, so this window will appear, and then I'm going to drag this middle thing onto the wheel, and that's just to make the anchor point. This is the anchor point, so when I'm going to go up to the inspector now, I can actually put in keyframes, and it's going to rotate around this anchor point. So I'm going to go to the beginning of my animation. I'm just going to go into the transform, and I'm going to click right here to set a beginning keyframe. And then I'm going to go to the end of my clip, and I'll just go into the rotation angle, and I'm just going to make it rotate like that, 360 degrees, but I wanted to go a little faster. So let's say I'm going to change this into, let's say 900 or something, 900 degrees of turning around. And then I'm just going to go down here to the clip, push D so I can put this on top, and then we can just have a look at if that's okay. Looks pretty good, I think. And then I'm just going to duplicate the clip like so. I'm going to select the top clip, and I'm just going to go into the position, and I'm going to move the second wheel on top of the other one, like so. So now the car is actually moving and it's driving. Super cool. If we want to add in a little extra into the wheels itself, we can put in an effect. So we go up to the effect, and I'm just going to search for stop. We have a stop motion effect, and I'm just going to drag that on and keep the frame repeat on 5. And I'm going to do that for the second one as well. So now they are going to be a little more like stop motion. Last thing to do is to take our blue screen clip and put that on top of everything. And we'll jump back again to the color page. I know you can make chroma key in many different ways in DaVinci Resolve. Back in the day, you could only do this in the color page, and that's why I still use that method most of the time. So I'm going to go into the qualifier, changing this into 3D, and I'm just going to draw all these places, and I can go here to the plus, and I'm going to add some more lines like that. And then the idea here is to get as clean key as possible, and I think we are getting there. And then we are just going to right click in empty space again, add an alpha out, and connect the line to the blue dot. And then of course we need to invert our selection, and you do that by clicking this icon right here. So now we have that all together, and then I want to go to the D-spill, and I'm just going to bump that up quite a bit. Last thing to do would be to go into the editing page, select our little animation here, and then we could zoom that up a bit and move that down. So we're going to get this bunch out of the frame. Or we could keep them in if we wanted it to be like that, but I think we want it like this. And that's how we would do that effect. Pretty fast, pretty easy, using DaVinci Resolve. Now back to the studio. So when doing your stop motion animation, it is important, like in real life when you're shooting a film, to change angles once in a while. Again, for my setup, I'm using a C-stand right here. You can use whatever, as long as you take some shots and you're actually just moving the camera. For instance, you can do an over-top shot pretty easy when using a C-stand, because you can just move the C-stand around like you please. So remember, move your camera as well. So now you've done your stop motion animation, and it's time to export your footage out from the camera. And that is super easy actually. It's just to go into your project, and just hit the export button, and it's going to export that onto your library on your phone, and then you can just put that into DaVinci Resolve and do all of the final editing and sound design. Even though there is an option to do sound design in the app where you can kind of record voices and stuff, well, for me, that isn't the best way of making sound design. I'd rather do that in the editor. For me, that is a way better and more controlled way of making a sound design for your movie. Okay, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and just to show you very quickly that you can do some cool things in DaVinci. Actually, I did the edit here, of course. However, I also did a color grade, and I did that in using the adjustment clips, so you can see this is how it looks before, and then I'm just doing a pretty rough grade. But for this portion of the video, we're just going to jump into Fairlight, and Fairlight is Blackmagic's editing sound suite, and that is really good. So basically we can layer our different sound effects here, and we have a preview window up here. I'm not going to go into detail about how Fairlight works. However, if you want a free sound library, you can actually just pick up Blackmagic's free sound library, and I did all the effects in here using that pretty fast, and it's a very cool little sound library. And of course you can, as I said, you can pick that up for free, and I did do a video all about how to install it and stuff like that, so you can take a look at that video up here in the top corner. So for this video, I'm just going to show you my little stop motion, and then I'll go back to the studio and I'll round up the video. So I hope you liked this video on how to create stop motion using your smartphone. The app is quite good. Although it do not have a lot of controls, it is very good for beginners. If you want more controls, there are other stop motion apps out there, way better, where you can control zoom and stuff like that. On this app, it is kind of a point and shoot kind of app, which is really good for beginners. Anyway, I do hope you found this little video useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it would help them out, and if you want to be notified every time there's a new video on this channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.